All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is When Wrestling Was Real, and I'm your host, Matt Lyda. Today, we're going to be discussing one of the greatest matches in professional wrestling history. We're talking about two men who defined the sport of the 80s. They defined professional wrestling. They are two of the most technical wrestlers to ever step into the squared circle. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about Ric Flair versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, the 1989 Chi-Town Rumble. So close your eyes, sit back, and just take yourself to that tube TV in your parents' living room floor. I want to take you back to when wrestling was real. This episode is sponsored by Zeros. Go to drinkzeros.com. Find your favorite flavors today. Mine's going to be orange. These guys, they're amazing. It's veteran-owned, veteran-operated, zero carbs, gluten-free, zero sugar, only 90 calories. And the flavors are amazing, guys. Like I said, I'm drinking the orange today. Anything orange, I'm pretty much down with. My two favorite flavors is orange and grape. Go to drinkzeros.com to be able to find your favorite flavors or a store near you that serves zeros. Just remember, got to be 21 years or older to drink and drink responsibly. More than anything, please drink responsibly. Go to drinkzeros.com. Also, my friends over at Roots of Fight. Ladies and gentlemen, go to rootsoffight.com. Use promo code When Wrestling Was Real, and you'll get 20% off all of their apparel. Some of the coolest, best designs you'll see for professional wrestling, especially some of those throwback designs and some of those wrestlers that may or may not be in the ring today. Go to rootsoffight.com. Use promo code When Wrestling Was Real and get your favorite wrestling apparel over there. I watched this match just today to just kind of bring back some of those memories, bring back, some of those highlights. It's a match that went on for about 20 plus minutes, 20, 25 minutes. And I've seen this match a million times. Anytime you can win the World Heavyweight Championship with a small package, by God, you got some good wrestling on your hands. Let's kind of break down, some of the details here. So we're at the anniversary right now, February 20th, 1989. The promotion, National Wrestling Alliance, NWA. Jim Crockett Promotions era, it soon became WCW. We're at the UIC Pavilion in Chicago, and we have an attendance of roughly 9,000 people. The broadcast was closed circuit television and pay-per-view markets. This show helped define NWA's serious sports-based wrestling presentation, and it launched what ended up becoming a historic trilogy in professional wrestling. Before we get to the main event, before we get to Flair versus Steamboat, some of the other matches that night that were on the card that were really good was one of the big ones, Lex Luger versus Barry Windham for the United States Championship. Windham retained the title. It was a hard-hitting physical match. It established Luger as a future top star. We'll dive more into Lex Luger's career on a different episode. But this match between Barry Windham really helped get Luger kind of where we could see that this guy's going to be something special. We also had Road Warriors versus Varsity Club. Road Warriors dominated. There's no pop like a Road Warrior pop. I've got a Legion of Doom, cup here. Road Warriors are probably my favorite tag team of all time. But they ended up beating the Varsity Club that night. And of course, it was just a classic power physical tag team match. I mean, what we saw with the Road Warriors was just, these guys were just over the top powerful, as you know. And of course, they did that against the Varsity Club that night. We also saw a young Sting showcase his potential and his star potential against Butch Reed. Reed, of course, being the heel, but we had an early glimpse of Sting's future, of what him becoming a star, him becoming a Hall of Famer, him becoming a household name on this night. So those are some of the other matches that happened that night that may kind of get overlooked just because of how great the main event was, how historical the main event was. But I don't want those to go unspoken about. I don't want people to just think that that night was just one match. There was some really good wrestling happening at the Chi-Town Rumble. What really stole the show, as everyone knows, was the main event. We're talking about Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus arguably the greatest wrestler to have ever stepped in the ring, and Ric Flair. What we saw in this match between Flair and Steamboat was something that I think historical fans, people who love the history of professional wrestling, this was professional wrestling. This was a match that you should go back and study, even if you're a wrestler today, and see how these guys were doing it, how it's supposed to be done, really, which is what Flair and Steamboat did. Not a lot of high flying, but yet there was still some of that. There was a crossbody I think Flair did to Steamboat that put both of them over the top and out of the ring. And during that time, I mean, that was Steamboat coming off the top rope, a time or two, like you just didn't see a lot of that in the 80s in wrestling, as you know. We see it, of course, every single match now. Everything they did in the ring mattered that night. Everything they did in the ring was perfect. It was pretty special to see how they did this. The storyline was insane. Steamboat's wife and young son were shown in the storyline. So there was a lot of personal stakes here. Flair represented an arrogant champion with dominance. He did it better than anybody. He lived the life of this flamboyant. Even in the broadcast, they're talking about how his dad was a physician. He went to private school. You've got Steamboat over here, blue collar guy, 8 to 5. Mom and dad was just middle class. Steamboat had a tough upbringing. Flair, the rich kid, he had an easy life. Things were just handed to him. He's that arrogant champion that we all hate. That personality came through in this match, and it came through in their storyline together. Steamboat loved his wife and kids. Flair was looked at as a ladies' man, flying private, limousine riding. We know about Flair. You got to remember, during this time frame, man, people believed everything that they saw when it came to professional wrestling. They believed these characters. They believed these gimmicks more than anything else in the world. So they truly thought that both of these men were these people outside of the ring. And to be honest with you, they kind of were. So when it comes to the actual match, the match is famous for its technical precision and psychology rather than it being just a spectacle. The technical wrestling that happened during this match was unbelievable. Imagine Gunther today, right? How Gunther wrestles. That's kind of what we saw that night in Chicago. We saw two men that I believe Gunther has probably studied this match and probably uses pieces of this match for all of his matches, because I saw a lot of Gunther during this match. Early on, pure wrestling exchanges when it comes to the match. Steamboat out-wrestled Flair. When people talk about technical wrestlers, they forget about Steamboat, man. We always mention, the Eddie Guerreros, the Chris Jerichos, the Bret Harts, Shawn Michaels. We talk about Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit. We talk about those guys, but for some reason, Steamboat just gets left off the list. And we've got to think back to another great technical wrestler in Macho Man. Rest in peace. God bless you. Cream of the crop. WrestleMania 3, Steamboat versus Macho Man. Think about that match, okay? You're talking about two great technical wrestlers. Why doesn't Steamboat get the love that he deserves? I don't know. I mean, and in all fairness, I haven't given him the love that he deserves when it comes to those lists. When you ask me my Mount Rushmore of technical wrestlers, to be honest with you, Steamboat doesn't make the list. And I think it's just because I forget. I forget how good he was. Then I watch a match like this and I go, holy hell, this guy's the real deal. This is about as technical as it gets. And now we're talking about him in the ring with freaking Flair for nearly 25 minutes. This is going to be a show, by God. The crowd was 100% behind Steamboat. I'm not going to say 100%. You still got the woos in the crowd. They were showing during the match some of the football players for the Bears were in attendance. All of them were Flair fans. All of them were, but the fans themselves, most of the fans in the crowd, man, they were backing Steamboat hard. That was their guy. This was a good guys versus bad guys match. And in 1989, that mattered. Good guys were getting cheered, bad guys got booed no matter what. That's just how it was. Then, about halfway through the match, Flair starts targeting Steamboat's throat. That was something you just didn't do. You didn't go after the man's throat. You could seriously injure him. You could take his voice from him. You could take his life from him. And anyone knows if you get hit in the throat, man, you're done. Your night is over. That is a painful shot. And Flair leaned into it. Flair leaned into being the ultimate heel that night, targeting Steamboat's throat unnecessarily. This man wins matches with a figure four. Why would you target his throat? You're only doing that for a personal reason. You're only doing that because you hate the man in front of you, because you dislike him so much that you're willing to hurt him in a way that is going to affect his future, affect his home life, affect his personal life. He didn't care. Any means necessary. Whatever I've got to do to keep the gold around my waist, I'm going to do it. And Flair did. He did everything he could that night to hurt Steamboat, professionally and personally. There was long periods of time during the middle of the match where Flair dominated. He just kept control of the match. Once again, I go back to what I said earlier, no wasted movements. There was time given to let things sink in, but Flair stayed on top of Steamboat the whole time. Anytime Steamboat had an edge, Flair just locked in, especially working the leg. He works the leg, gets the figure four, and for minutes throughout that match, we see Steamboat locked in the figure four, not being able to get to the ropes, not being able to get Flair turned over, because what's Flair doing? He's using the ropes. Referee's got his back to him. Flair's hanging onto the ropes. Flair's using it for his advantage, being that dirty player that we know that he is. He was once again establishing something for the long haul. He is a real heel, and he's leaning into it during this match. The whole crowd is cheering for Steamboat. They are beating on chairs, clapping hands, whatever they got to do to get the crowd. The crowd is doing everything they can to help Ricky out. And Flair just continues to be mischievous, being able to hide what he was doing from the ref. Ref can't see what he's doing. It's classic Ric Flair until the ref catches him. And now Flair's got to break the figure four. The crowd goes wild. Steamboat has a second chance, something you don't get very often when you're talking about getting locked into the figure four by the man himself, by the greatest wrestler to step in the ring, and you just got a second chance. That doesn't happen. Guys tap on the figure four. That's Flair's move. During this time as champion, he wrestled 5 matches where he won by the figure four. This is a devastating submission hold. It felt like these two men really hated each other. It felt like Steamboat was trying to do this for his family. Steamboat was trying to do this for the fans. He's trying to do it for the crowd. He's trying to do it for professional wrestling, to bring honor back to the sport. You've got this arrogant, rich SOB running around, flaunting all of his money, flaunting his plane, flaunting his limousines. He's stealing the women from the good guys. Ricky wanted to bring honor back. He wanted to bring respect back. When you wear that title, you should wear it with class. And he didn't feel like Flair did that. Let me tell you what we didn't see. We didn't see a whole bunch of finishers that got kicked out of. There's a reason I'm saying that. What we saw was Ricky tried to win the belt throughout the whole night. If you watch the match, he's constantly going for the pin. That's what you're supposed to do in professional wrestling. You are wrestling the champion. Anytime you have a chance to potentially pin him, win the match, you should. That's what makes it real. That's what makes it believable. If the man's laid out on his back, why wouldn't you cover him up and try to win right then? I mean, that's what the purpose of being in the ring is for, is to win the match. And what we see a lot of times with guys is they just go to a next move, or they go to try to do some type of back flip off the top rope, whatever it is. Not Steamboat. Anytime Flair was down, he jumped on him. Got a 1 count, 2 count, whatever it might be. There's multiple times where we're talking about 2.5 where Steamboat could have won this match. Now, I'm a Ric Flair fan. Ric Flair, to me, is the greatest of all time. Steamboat's right up there, though. And what we saw throughout this match was both of them having a perfect match. No botches, no slip-ups, no stupidity. Nothing dumb happens. No wasted movements and no wasted moves. All right, guys. Just want to say thank you for watching this video. Thank you for supporting this channel. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. All of those things help me out, and it doesn't cost you a thing. Also, go follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all under When Wrestling Was Real. Once again, thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. And now I'm going to get you back to the real reason why you're here, to the video. Thank y'all. We get towards the end of this, and we have seen Steamboat have his moments. The chops were insane throughout this match. Steamboat countered with some chops. Flair would chop Steamboat, and Steamboat would counter with a chop that would take Flair off his feet, and Flair couldn't believe it. The end of the match comes. Flair thinks he's got Steamboat exactly where he wants him, and all of a sudden, we get a classic end to a championship match. We see Ricky the Dragon Steamboat reverse a small package, wins the NWA World Heavyweight Championship with a small package. That would never happen today. But what we saw was 2 phenomenal technical wrestlers. Why else wouldn't you win in such a way as a small package? When you're talking about technical wrestlers, that's how you should win, with a small package. Very, very interesting ending. Historical ending, historical match. We saw technical wrestling, no mistakes, perfection at its best by 2 of the greatest to have ever done it. And the crowd absolutely exploded when Steamboat got the 3 count on the Nature Boy. We see the crowd absolutely explode. It's one of wrestling's loudest reactions, especially of that era, with only 9,000 people. What we heard in that arena makes me wish that WWE would go back to having these major pay-per-views like the WrestleMania stuff. I kind of like it in these arenas. Give me a 10, 15, 20,000 person arena. Man, that right there is where you're going to hear that pop like no other. You go out these football stadiums, man, there's no ceiling. You don't even, Lord, we just saw the Rumble in Saudi Arabia. I don't even know if anybody was even there. These guys are doing this in front of 9,000 people, and it sounded like the entire country was cheering. To be honest with you, they might have been. This was a phenomenal match. We all know that. We've touched on that. Great match. But why does it matter? Why does this match mean so much outside of it just being a perfected technical match? What else mattered about this match? Perfect in-ring storytelling, realistic pacing. These guys, they were methodical and slow when they needed to be. They sped it up and got fast when they needed to be. They gave each other space when they needed it. They allowed the fans to absorb what just happened before moving to the next move, or to get the next spot, to set up the next thing. They fought. When one would punch, the other would punch back. When one would chop, the other one would chop back. It's a fight. You're trying to win the World Heavyweight Championship. You need to make it look and feel real. And what they did was they allowed us to see what perfection really is inside of the ring. The crowd psychology was a masterclass. How they roped in with Steamboat's family, how they roped in the Chicago Bears, how they made everyone in the crowd truly believe that they hated each other and they just felt how real it was. It was a masterclass on psychology in the ring with wrestling moves. They listened to what the crowd was doing, and the next move always gave the crowd what they wanted, or maybe what they exactly didn't want, but yet it gave them emotion and feelings. That is psychology at its best. That is professional wrestling at its best. And what we got to see, which is what we loved in the 80s, was just a clean babyface victory. The good guy prevails. That's what we all want to see. We wanted to see Hogan win. We wanted to see Ultimate Warrior win. We loved Hacksaw Jim Duggan. We loved the baby faces. And in 1989, man, that's what the crowd needed. And they got to see it with Steamboat going over on the heel of all heels. We hated the bad guys in Ric Flair. The most important thing that happened, the thing that we have to take our hats off and say thank you for, is the fact that this launched what became the Steamboat Flair trilogy, or if you ask Ric Flair, the Flair Steamboat trilogy. We got to see two more matches that we're going to break down after this one that helped define, once again, professional wrestling and how it's supposed to be done inside the ring. Without the 1989 Chi-Town Rumble, we don't get to experience Ric Flair and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, one of the greatest rivalries ever in professional wrestling. Don't let that go by without, guys. I know that we have so many phenomenal rivalries in professional wrestling. We always think of Flair and Dusty. Go back and watch Flair Steamboat. When you're talking Southeast, especially when you're talking about backwoods country boys watching wrestling like I did growing up, Flair Steamboat. That is the rivalry. Many fans and critics rank this match as maybe the greatest match ever. Launching the Flair Steamboat trilogy, where we got to see Clash of the Champions and Wrestle War 1989. This was peak NWA wrestling style, sports presentation, technical matches, realistic storytelling, and long-term booking. The match that happened on February 20th, 1989 was something that just was a brick in the foundation of what was to come. They understood that with the NWA. They understood long-term storytelling. Has a lot of influence on modern wrestling. Like I said, I'm going to go back to going through what we see with him. This man has had to have studied this match a million times. There's so much of what he does in this match, especially using the headlock and the sleeper hold like he does. That was, I mean, you can see that in this match. What they did that night has influenced how wrestling was booked through the 90s and the Attitude Era. All those things were great focus, match psychology, clean finishes, and athletic pacing. What did you see throughout the 90s? That's what you saw. You saw that. It comes from that match, comes from 1989. Just kind of about the NWA real quick. This was a transition period for the company as well, okay? They needed a Flair Steamboat match. Jim Crockett was struggling financially. What we would see soon thereafter would Turner Broadcasting would purchase the company, which became the birth of WCW. And you know, the 1989 Chi-Town Rumble, it represents the end of an era. It represents the end of the Jim Crockett era, the end of the NWA era. This was kind of that cherry, that icing on the cake, as you would say. But it birthed what we would see throughout the 90s when it came to professional wrestling, how it was the in-ring performance, how it would look and feel. And fans still talk about it as one of the greatest matches ever. I think it was because of the emotional investment that you would have on this match. That's why fans talk about it. We believed it. There's not backflips. There's no somersaults. There's none of those things, guys. So why do we always go back to a match like this? Why do we always look back in the 80s and say, that's the greatest wrestler? That's the greatest match. That was the greatest night in sports entertainment history. Because we believed it. We could feel it. It hit us right here. It made us think. We didn't know what the end was going to be before the match started. Let that sink in. You didn't have that in 1989. Flair and Steamboat wouldn't want that in 1989. That, to me, is why this match is the greatest match of all time, because it made us believe in something. It made us believe that the good guy could prevail. It made us believe that the rich, smug guy isn't always going to win, that a guy that's a blue-collar man working 8 to 5, struggling, just wants to put food on his table for his wife and kids. But yet, what faces him is another rich man that's flaunting his money, that gets to fly private, has any woman he wants, eating at the nicest restaurants. And he has the one thing that represents this pure, beautiful sport. And it's that gold belt around his waist, that beautiful, big gold belt. And why can't that be in the hands of someone who truly deserves it, someone who truly has worked hard, someone who truly loves the fans and truly loves the sport? Why couldn't that belt belong to that person? Well, on February 20th, 1989, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, one of us, got to do that. He got to put that belt around his waist after beating the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Matt Lyda, and this is when wrestling was real.